Hey guys, so I'm back again, and I just wanted to address something that I saw today that I thought was really weird. Weird for me anyway, and I just want to know mostly if you guys think it's as weird as I do. So today it came up on Facebook that Conchata Ferrell had died, and of course she was the maid. Well, she's best known as having been the maid on Two and a Half Men. Um, so it came up on Facebook, and somebody posted this. I didn't know her, but I'm a huge fan of her work. Very sorry to report the passing of actress Conchata Ferrell. I always thought her name should be Conchetta too, but that's not a Mandela effect. Conchata Ferrell, Conchata, known to millions as Berta on Two and a Half Men, passed away yesterday at the age of 77. Conchata guest starred on The Rockford Files in the episode Crackback. So it was really weird because here's the thing. Like, I'm actually currently watching Two and a Half Men right now. And every time I go and I watch it, I just kind of cock my head to the side and I'm like, oh, Conchata Ferrell, too bad she's dead. Because honestly, I thought that she had died a few years ago. And I could swear to God, I remember one of my friends on Facebook posting something about it. And it turns out she didn't die. So it's just really, really strange. I just feel like I'm seeing this again. And the other weird thing, too, is that when Mary Tyler Moore died, I think it was at the beginning of 2019, and this is kind of a reverse, me not remembering that they died or remembering that they died or having them die twice. I had never heard that Mary Tyler Moore had died. Like, at the end of the year, they wrapped up who had died, I think at the end of 2019. And Mary Tyler Moore was at the top of their list. And I'm like, what? Mary Tyler Moore died? And I'm like a news radio junkie. And they always report the big deaths on news radio. And I never remember hearing about her dying. So anyway, that's kind of the reverse of this. Because for me, this is the second time that Conchata Ferrell has died. So it was just really, really strange. I'm just going to read the beginning of this article for you for 2 seconds. Actress Conchata Ferrell passed away on October 12th at 12:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at the age of 77 as a result of complications following a cardiac arrest. She died peacefully, surrounded by family at Sherman Oaks Hospital in Sherman Oaks, California. Ferrell is probably best known for her role as no-nonsense housekeeper Berta on the hit CBS comedy Two and a Half Men. This role earned her 2 supporting actress in a comedy series Emmy nominations in 2005 and 2007. She was a beautiful human. Two and a Half Men star John Cryer said of Ferrell, "I'm crying for the woman I'll miss and the joy she brought so many," added fellow star Charlie Sheen. "An absolute sweetheart, a consummate pro, a genuine friend." The veteran actress also landed an Emmy nomination in 1992 for her role as Susan Bloom on L.A. Law. Her other notable TV series include Good Times ER, Grace and Frankie, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and BJ and the Bear. So, I don't know. It was just so strange. And here's the other thing, too. The other thing I looked for was essentially stories of, like, maybe her death was published erroneously before, or maybe there's reality residue of her death having been earlier or a couple years ago. It could have been anywhere that I thought I heard about it from between 2 to 5 years ago. And I couldn't find anything. I found Death Hoax. That was August 17th. She fell ill. I think it was July 17th. That's what I seem to remember. And I know I'm not confusing her for anybody else because Conchata Ferrell is very unique. Like, I wouldn't confuse her for anybody else. There's nobody like Conchata Ferrell. And I remember, too, thinking when I heard of her death, I remember thinking, oh, no, the cast of Two and a Half Men must be really, really sad. The other interesting thing here, too, and this may or may not mean anything, is that it says, so she passed away on October 12th. She died peacefully, surrounded by family at Sherman Oaks Hospital. Now I know, of course, there are separate wards for COVID, so it probably wouldn't apply. Like, in other words, what the heck is going on with my screen? It probably wouldn't apply. Like, in other words, she probably would be able to have her family there if it wasn't a COVID ward. And of course, I'm not going to get into a debate as to whether COVID is really real. I know 2 people who've died from it. So, Um, anyway, so yeah, that's about it as for Conchata. Now, the funny thing, too, is that she was in the sitcom ER, which I always thought was so funny. It was a really great sitcom that came on in 1983 about, and I thought it was so good. And it starred Elliot Gould, and George Clooney was part of the original cast, too. Although that's weird, they don't have a picture of him in the original cast. So, George Clooney was one of the original actors in it, and it's funny because they didn't really make a big deal out of it when the new ER came on. Like, they didn't really talk about it that much. I wish I could find. The thing of it is I'm wishing I could find more odd coincidences about Conchata Ferrell, or anything else online that might indicate that there's some reality residue, but there's not. But the only big coincidence I know that I think is kind of funny is that there were two ERs, and it's almost as though this sitcom ER was like in an alternate reality. So there's that. Anyway, so what I want you guys to let me know is if you remember Conchata Ferrell passing away earlier, like any time within the past 2 to 5 years. I wish I had more detailed remembrances for you, but I don't. But it's just really weird because I don't confuse her for anybody else, and I'm watching 2.5 Men right now, and it just, I don't know, it just makes me sad every time I look at her because I keep thinking, and I had kept thinking that she's passed. Okay, so the other weird thing is, and this is like, again, the news publishing stories that are either premature about someone's death or about an illness or whatnot, but I thought that this was too odd to ignore. So this is Mike Pence at the vice presidential debate last week, and this is a very odd looking picture of him, and my friend Robbie T posted this on Facebook, human suit malfunction, and I have pretty bad eyesight and I was sitting pretty far away from the TV, so I didn't see this, but I went back and I looked at it up close, and he did in fact have pink eye. And the weird thing is that obviously Donald Trump just got diagnosed with the COVID, and several White House staffers and people linked to them. It's up to 34 now, I believe. And so it wouldn't be odd to reason that maybe he had caught it, but somehow I feel like Mike Pence wields more clout than Donald Trump. Like I just feel like he's more powerful than Donald Trump, kind of like a Cheney Bush type situation. But anyway, pink eye is a symptom of COVID. So come to find out that this publication called Deadline Hollywood, Deadline, essentially had posted just in advance prep. It says prep, do not publish until the news crosses, which I guess means that they would have to wait for something official or somebody else to publish it this first. First, Vice President Mike Pence tests positive for coronavirus 8 days after Donald Trump, which is really weird. And I thought, well, I've never heard of Deadline. Maybe it's a bullshit publication. But I went to one of my favorite sites, Media Bias Fact Check. And I actually trust Media Bias Fact Check because it essentially confirms what we've known and what we know about networks like Fox, about CNN, about MSNBC, and then about more trusted news sources that I like. It's pretty much right on the money. It essentially says that CNN and MSNBC are kind of left of center and they're biased and they have sort of mixed reporting. They have, what is it called? It's like mixed reliability. And they say the same thing about Fox, except it's more to the right. So I tend to really trust Media Bias Fact Check. I look it up. Whenever I have noticed a new publication, I always look it up. So it's called MediaBiasFactCheck.com. And so I went there and I thought to myself, well, let me look up and see what Deadline Hollywood, how they come out. And I'm sorry I didn't, oh wait, no, it says it up here, Deadline Hollywood. That's the publication. I scrolled further down the page. It's got a left center bias. It's the grade that it gets is high, like it's just highly factual instead of just mostly factual. And I think the publications they rate as mostly factual are ones that are, for all intents and purposes, mostly factual, but they use a lot of buzzwords to kind of sway your opinion. But in any case, it got a left-center bias. These media sources have a slight to moderate liberal bias. They often publish factual information that utilizes loaded words. Okay, so I guess even if it's highly factual, they still sometimes utilize loaded wording that attempts to influence an audience by using appeal to emotion or stereotypes to favor liberal causes. These sources are generally trustworthy for information, but may require further investigation. So I suppose trying to prove that Mike Pence had the COVID is somewhat liberal, but at the same time, it's also a medical thing, so I'm not sure. But anyway, it was really, really weird. And then I looked it up later after the fact, and the New York Post, which New York Post isn't really all that reliable, but it did say Deadline mistakenly published a story saying Mike Pence has COVID-19. Mike Pence's eye problem caused a lot of chatter. And then when I further looked up Mike Pence's eye problem, the Deadline thing was still there. In other words, the Deadline article was still there, but when you click on it, you get a 404 error. But the headline was still there, so they didn't remove it completely. So anyway, I don't know. It's just weird. I thought that was kind of interesting. So it might have just been a rumor. They might have just printed it, the way that they do obituaries, just in case they had it. But it's weird. I don't know why news outlets have to actually put it up on the site and risk having it being seen by people. Like, I don't know why they can't just publish it and then copy and paste it into their template and put it up. Because that's how we do at the old place that I used to work for. When I would publish my articles, I would write the whole thing in Word and then copy and paste it when I wanted to actually put it up on the site. But yeah, so that was kind of strange. Anyway, let me know what you think. Let me know what you know. I would be really curious to know if any of you guys remember Conchata Ferrell having passed earlier than this. And I hope you're all doing well. More videos to come. I made a really weird discovery yesterday. Not as timely as this one, but I made a really weird discovery yesterday. So more videos to come, and peace out.